Just saying that word made some of you nervous. My husband Steve and I have been here for 23 years, and I can tell you 3 times that we haven't sat right over there. Once was for our twin daughter's baptism, and the other 2 times were for our niece's baptisms. 3 times in 23 years. Also, I am not an 8:30 person. This is really early. I'm here today to tell you about Watts, the Winchester Area Temporary Transitional Shelter, and a few changes that have and will take place. For those of you who are new to Opequon or to Winchester, Watts is an organization whose mission is to provide a warm shelter for homeless guests in our area during the coldest months of the year, beginning in November. We start in 3 weeks. Churches and civic organizations house up to 35 homeless adults for 1 week during their assigned time. The shelter is open each day from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. Our dates this year are December 30th to January 6th, which is very different than in previous years. It throws a wrench into our usual procedures, as we typically have lots of teachers and coaches who volunteer, including myself, but now we will be back to work. Other volunteers, including my co-lead volunteer, Shannon Brannon, can typically take time off from work during that period. Well, she will also be back to work. In saying this, it means we need extra help, especially for breakfast, and all of you have proven that you like to get up early, so I will be calling you. If you are an early riser and wouldn't mind coming to help serve breakfast, we need you. Breakfast isn't fancy, but it is early, 5:30 a.m. early. But you're out of there by 7 a.m., so you can do whatever you need to do the rest of the day. Evening volunteers, we ask to arrive by 6:15, unless you're cooking dinner and they have their own schedules, and they usually finish around 8:15, so about 2 hours. All of the volunteer positions that we need will be listed on a blue insert in your bulletin next month. I will also create a Sign Up Genius link that we'll send out. Most jobs last about 1 to 2 hours, with a few that last a bit longer. We typically need about 75 volunteers for the entire week, and volunteers must be 18 or older. A change for Watts that began last season was they hired a few people to help the guests in finding jobs, housing, getting Social Security cards, driver's licenses, medical assistance, so they can move on and move out. In the past 16 months, 5 of our usual guests have found shelter and permanent employment. It was bittersweet, as these guests are some that have been with us for 14 years. When I first volunteered 14 years ago when Pastor Witt brought Watts to Winchester, I thought it would be sad. I have learned that it is far from sad. Yes, there are sad situations, but most of the time in Watts, you will find guests who are happy and very grateful for us. They're grateful to have a hot meal and a warm place to stay. When I greet them at the top of the steps when they arrive, I say, "How are you?" They say, "No, how are you?" "How are your girls? How's your husband? Is your sister here?" My sister, Vicki, welcomes them at the bottom of the steps. "Is that other really nice lady that you bring to play bingo, is she here? How's school? How are your students?" What? This is what they're worried about? We don't focus on sadness. We focus on how do we make our guests feel welcome and loved. We also have a great time as volunteers. I've met many 8:30 members who I probably never would have met before while working with Watts. We truly have a very fun time with this very important ministry. If you can't help physically but want to join or make some donations, we can always use long johns, sweatpants, chapstick, hand warmers, gloves, feminine hygiene products, and $5 gift cards to be used as bingo prizes. If you want more information, please feel free to find me after the service or during the chili cook-off. I really could talk about Watts for days, but we will have a training at the beginning of December if you're interested in volunteering or want more information. Change is more than just sitting in a different pew. Decide to change your life or your perspective on the homeless and join us for Watts. You'll be glad that you did.